The Cardinals should 100% sign Deandre Baker.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, it's Alex Clancy. I'm the host of Locked On Cardinals. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. We're 31 days away from football. Real regular season football. Hell yeah. We made it. Follow me on Twitter again at Clancy's Corner. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit a like on the video. Subscribe. Leave a comment. Just trying to grow this thing, baby. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. Free and available on all platforms. 5 years going into my 6th season. Thank you very much for being a part of it. If this is your first listen, this is the first time you watched or heard Locked On Cardinals, thanks for taking some time. Maybe make tomorrow your second listen. Cardinals have a game against Cincinnati. I'll be doing a live halftime show at halftime of tomorrow's game, and I'll be doing most likely a quick post-game wrap-up, little live as well. Join me. Bring your questions. Bring your comments. We'll interact. It's fun. That's one of the most fun things I get to do here is interact with you. So thank you for being along the journey with me. Deandre Baker was drafted by the New York Giants with the 30th overall pick in 2019. Okay. They moved up. They gave a 4th and a 5th rounder to move up 7 spots to draft him on the tail end of the 1st round. Okay. Then some not so great stuff happened. He was charged with holding people up at gunpoint, and then he was acquitted of the charges because it turns out that people were trying to extort him. And yeah, so that happened, and that's why the Giants cut him initially. Okay. It was in Florida when it happened. And this was it's something that in this day and age, sometimes the allegation, true or untrue, can mar somebody's, existence. And that's what happened to Deandre Baker. So he was cut, then picked up by the Chiefs. He played 8 games for them last year. He's 24 years old. He won the Jim Thorpe Award for the best defensive back in the nation in 2018 while at Georgia. So he checks specific boxes, and everybody loves a comeback story. And he's got opportunities abound if the Cardinals were to sign him. 24 years old. He's 5'11", 180. He's pretty much a perfect corner size. Won the Jim Thorpe Award in college. Those are things, there are specific awards that are given out in college that have a pretty high transfer rate to the NFL. You get a really good litmus test of what a player is going to be like in the NFL and how ready he is for the NFL game with the speed and the growth of talent on both sides of the ball as compared to college football where a bunch of players have to go to first period chemistry on Monday after the game on Saturday. It's different. Best defensive back in the nation is, especially in the SEC, is one where it's like, okay, that the floor most likely for a player like that is higher coming out of college and into the NFL than someone who didn't win the Jim Thorpe Award. Now you have the 1%ers of the corners and safeties in college, sure. But there's only one winner, and DeAndre Baker won that award, okay? So had some off-the-field stuff, controversial, was expunged, signed with the Chiefs, 24 years old, and he needs a team. The Cardinals desperately need defensive back help. They need cornerback depth. They've got Byron Murphy. It looks like Marco Wilson and Antonio Hamilton are fighting for that CB2 role as we're looking at camp right now. And if DeAndre Baker comes in and he shows, wow, this dude, he's 24 years old. Okay, it's not like he's 30 trying for another chance. this dude, if he comes in and balls out, you could be looking at the future of the cornerback room. The Cardinals will probably sign him to a 1-year deal, prove-it deal, team-friendly. They've got some cheese to spend, okay? If you bring him in and he pops, they brought him in yesterday. There's no word as I'm recording this of him being signed or him leaving Arizona without a contract. If he pops, then the Cardinals could be looking at something they just fell into when other teams wouldn't give DeAndre Baker the chance that the Cardinals did. Picture that. Okay, let's run that back. They didn't draft the corner in 2020 in the first round. They didn't draft the corner in 2021 in the first round. They haven't addressed the cornerback position all the way back to when Patrick Peterson was in his prime. After Antonio Cromartie left, they never addressed the CB2. Ever. Remember, Brandon Williams, running back, Texas A&M, week 1 starter, opposite side, Patrick Peterson. That happened. And that's kind of where we've been with the cornerback room. Byron Murphy, Patrick Peterson was on the shelf for his PED suspension during Byron Murphy's rookie season. Byron Murphy came in and was just a de facto cornerback 1. He wasn't ready yet. I think he gave up the most touchdowns or something like that. He was a top of statistic you don't want to ever be as a cornerback his rookie year. But he was a rookie, and he didn't. I mean, the person who was supposed to teach him was a cheater and had to sit for 6 games. So then now Byron Murphy's come in. He's emerged by being the CB1 de facto because the Cardinals haven't addressed the cornerback room. So if they can back into this, if Steve Keim can sign DeAndre Baker and DeAndre Baker becomes an impact maker from week 1 on, and then he signs a longer contract after the 2022 season, this is what dreams are made of. Not only for DeAndre Baker, obviously, but for the Cardinals, where it's like he was a former first-round pick. Former first-round cornerbacks are not prevalent 2 years after he was drafted. And this will be obviously the 3rd year. And it's just, it would be amazing. Let's just say that. With the stuff that's happened this offseason, the front-loaded or the offensive-loaded moves that the Cardinals have made, for DeAndre Baker to come in to be an impact maker, just like, awesome. That would be fantastic. Steve Keim, sign him. 24 years old, former Jim Thorpe Award winner, sign him. You need depth. Sign him. Do not let him leave Arizona without a damn contract. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I want to talk more about the young guys. I want to talk more about a perfect scenario as it pertains to the young guys that need to take a step forward this season. I'm going to talk about the offense, next segment, and I'm going to talk about the defensive guys in the 3rd segment. Buckle up. It's going to be a good rest of the podcast. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'll be right back. First, Built Bar. Cookie, dough, chunk, puff. Say it with me now. Cookie, dough, chunk, puff. That's the new featured flavor. Puffs, if you don't remember, or if this is your first podcast, thanks for listening to Locked On Cardinals, by the way. Protein-infused marshmallow covered in chocolate. That's how Built Bar rolls. They've got the regular Built Bars. They got Built Bar granola. And then they've got Built Bar Puffs. And I've had these. We got sent a box because, we're cool like that. I ate them in 4 days. Like, normally I'll ration it out for myself so I can enjoy over the course of a week and a half or 2 weeks. I ate these babies, bing, boom, bing, 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 like 4 or 5 in a row because they're so good. They're only 160 calories. There's 16 grams of protein. It's like 6 bites, okay? They don't taste like the side of a tree. They don't taste like you're biting into chalk. They actually taste amazing. Like, this is all true, okay? Go to Built.com. Check for yourself. I got my dad hooked. That was very difficult to do when he's used to eating bagels with orange marmalade and eggs with lemon pepper pretty much in perpetuity for the last 25 years for breakfast. He got Built Bar. He got a bunch of flavors. He got a multi-flavored box where they just send you a bunch of different kinds because they got so many different flavors for you to try. Built Bar's got you covered. Go to Built.com. Get a box of cookie dough chunk puff today. Again, 100% covered in chocolate. 160 calories, 15 grams of protein. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. The young guns under the microscope. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. The Cardinals travel to Cincinnati for 4:30 local kickoff. Local time kickoff. It's here. We're not going to see wide receiver ones, RB ones. We're not going to see the ones at all. We're not going to see a lot of the backups either. Trace McSorley's going to start. I think Colt McCoy is going to back him up, or he may be the third string guy. We're not going to see a whole lot except for, and I talked about this yesterday and the day before, I want to see what Josh Jones has to offer. He's going to be starting at right tackle. Kelvin Beacham's not going to be there to be in his way, and I want to see what Josh Jones has got. I know he's not going to be playing against the ones, okay? But there's going to be a real pass rush. There's going to be a real quarterback to protect, and I want to see what Josh Jones has going into his third season. Because if anything were to happen to Kelvin Beacham, Josh Jones is going to have to be a Minuteman and step in and protect Kyler Murray. And I want to see what Andy Isabella's got. I want to see what he looks like when he gets all the opportunities. I just want to see. And I know he's going to be playing against the 2s and 3s. But I want to see Andy Isabella. I want to see these things. But let's fast forward to the regular season. Week 1 at home, Kansas City. The offensive guys, they're in a bunch of different spots, a bunch of different levels of pressure, and a bunch of different levels of play time it looks like they're going to see at this point. I'll save Rondale Moore for last. All right. Eno Benjamin. He was the flagship. He was the headliner for yesterday's podcast. Check it out. YouTube, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. If Eno Benjamin can emerge, and we're going to see him Friday night, we're going to see him a lot this preseason, I would assume. Hopefully, we're not going to see a lot of James Conner. We'll see more Darrell Williams. We'll see more Eno Benjamin. We'll see Keontae Ingram. If Eno Benjamin can emerge as an RB2/3, and I had some conversations, the Eno truthers are there. And they're like, told you so. I see it in the comments. I saw the one guy, forget his name. Okay, you're right. You don't need to screenshot and show me. I remember a couple people that said Eno's going to be a guy. And I saw it as, well, Chase Edmonds and James Conner kind of took everybody by surprise last year. It's like, what is Chase Edmonds going to do? He's not an RB1. Maybe Eno Benjamin will step in. They signed James Conner for under $2 million for a 1-year deal, and then he blows the roof off. Then Chase Edmonds leaves. Now there's room. I'm still on the side of Darrell Williams because I've seen it before. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is always hurt. Damian Williams was in and out of the roster for the last couple seasons. Even, he sat out during the COVID year. He opted out. Darrell Williams, I've seen get meaningful carries. Less and less because Jared McKinnon signed. Then the Gore kid took over. He was a fantasy darling for a couple weeks last year. If Eno Benjamin can emerge as an RB2 light or the actual RB2, if that's how, the dominoes fall, that would be massive for the Arizona Cardinals and for him. Massive for the Arizona Cardinals and for him, because look at what San Francisco's done. Elijah Mitchell. Do you need to see anything more? I think he was a 6th round pick. Raheem Mostert bounced around out of the league. San Francisco, 4 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. This happens all the time, but never to the Cardinals. And this, if Eno Benjamin can step up, and people said on draft, it's like, how is he still there? How did he not get drafted in the 6th round, in the 5th round? If Eno Benjamin can emerge, huge deal, not only for him, but for the Arizona Cardinals, because you have young, inexpensive, contractually talent who's an impact maker. That's how you build championship rosters. I'm not saying the Cardinals are there yet, but I'm saying a mixture of veteran, expensive contracts and young rookie-scale contracts, not only in the first round, second, third, there's 7 rounds in the NFL draft. Hundreds of picks. And the Cardinals have yet to really get lucky with late-round flyers that actually hold, that actually perform, that actually make the damn roster. And that's something you're hoping for from Eno Benjamin. Now, Rondale Moore, a little bit more volatile, a lot more pressure. Second round pick. Another second round undersized wide receiver with blazing speed, Steve Keim special. He showed flashes last year. And also, after midway through the season, apparently the entire Arizona Cardinals organization thought with Rondale Moore involved, past the line of scrimmage was lava. Don't touch it. He can't go past the line of scrimmage before catching a ball. He can't. It's lava. You can't. And he had one of the worst statistical lines. I think it was like distance per attempt per target, or it was something like that. I need to look that up. And don't quote me on that. He had a terrible, terrible statistic aligned to his name. I'm sure somebody on Twitter will let me know exactly what it was. They need to maximize his talent. Not just broken plays, Kyler Murray running back and forth behind the line of scrimmage, extending plays and finding Rondale Moore for a short Hail Mary pretty much on 3rd and 20, whatever. And the broken play against Minnesota, his big touchdown that in week 3, it's like, oh my goodness gracious. This dude could be a star. But what we did see from Rondale Moore last year was when he has the ball in space, he is absolutely incredibly lightning quick, electric, so much fun to watch. Like, the NFL game is not too fast for him. But he and Cliff Kingsbury need to figure out the package to use for him and have it not just be end arounds and wide receiver bubble screens. I think that they just need to remove wide receiver screen from the playbook unless it's DeAndre Hopkins catching the ball. Because for some reason, when DeAndre Hopkins only has one person to beat and you could get a chunk gain, he does it. And he's not the fastest guy. He's probably the slowest guy in the wide receiver room. It doesn't matter. It's DeAndre Hopkins. He gets to his spots. But those two guys this season, if they produce, this offense could be even better than what people think it's going to be now. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals, the defensive, young talent under a microscope. Next. Final segment, Locked On Cardinals. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. Free and available on all platforms. If this is your first listen, thank you. If this is your second one this week, maybe make tomorrow your third. And if you've been listening since 2017, 2018, 2019, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. You can also check me out today, Locked On NFL, on YouTube and free and available wherever you get your podcasts with Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans. We talk about preseason games as a whole. We talk about games that we're excited to see during the first week slate. And I refuse to call the Hall of Fame game week 1 of the preseason. Just like I refuse to call the play-in games to the NCAA tournament the first round. The first round is and will always be the first full slate of games, whether it be preseason, regular season, NCAA tournament, take it to the bank. There's actually a handful of defensive players that are young, and just like the offensive guys with Eno Benjamin and Rondale Moore, have varying degrees of heat and spotlight surrounding them. I'm going to start with the obvious. He's not necessarily that young anymore by football standards. Obviously, he's a young man. Byron Murphy. He's got the most, even though Isaiah Simmons is the most pivotal defensive player, in my opinion, for the Cardinals this year, Byron Murphy is in a contract year. He's had a Christian Kirk-like career so far. Up, down, not sure, flashes of brilliance, flashes of not so great, and then everywhere in the middle. Is he a slot corner? Is he an outside corner? Can he play outside corner? Should they move him inside and sign an outside corner? Like, he hasn't had the easiest go, and it's not necessarily his fault, okay? The Cardinals haven't put enough talent around him, okay? Drafting Marco Wilson and moving him into the CB2 role isn't ideal. Marco Wilson wasn't ready to play last year. He showed flashes. He's going to be a good NFL player by all accounts, but he wasn't ready last year. And that's kind of what Steve Keim does. He drafts a guy. He's like, all right, go get him. Go get him. And that's something that the Cardinals, that's something that Byron Murphy has had to deal with. Byron Murphy if he can emerge as a true cornerback one, and maybe if they sign DeAndre Baker, it'll help him with the depth of the cornerback room. If he can emerge and really have a year that people were hoping Christian Kirk would have for the Cardinals to retain him, and obviously, I mean, it actually worked out. They gave him, $1 billion to go to Jacksonville. If he can emerge and earn that second contract from the Cardinals defense is going to be a lot better than it looks like on paper right now. He has the most pressure on him. Second most pressure is Isaiah Simmons. And the only reason for this is because he's a year ahead of Zaven Collins. Zaven Collins, we don't know about Zaven Collins yet. We have no idea what he can bring to the table at the NFL level because we haven't seen it. He was injured. He didn't get playing time. It was Jordan Hicks. People say it was Vance Joseph not playing rookies. I am hell-bent on thinking he wasn't ready to play football at the NFL level yet, and that's why he didn't play. Isaiah Simmons went through that his rookie year. We remember the 75-yard catch and run by Raheem Mostert pretty much to kick off the 2020 NFL season, where Isaiah Simmons is like, oh God, what's happening? Gone. He's come a long way from that. The game slowed down. He had the flashbulb memories I have from him are, I've talked about this a bunch. If this is your first listen, thank you. The hit on Cam Newton that ended up being a 15-yard penalty, even though it shouldn't have been, that Nick Folk turned into a game-winning kick in New England his rookie year. He catapulted Cam Newton. It's like, oh man, if this dude has that hitting power, he's going to be a star in this league. We saw him week 1, 3rd and goal, stop Derrick Henry in his tracks at the goal line. We saw him save a touchdown on the goal line against Trey Lance when they were in at State Farm Stadium last year, and the Cardinals won by a touchdown. So he's shown that at times he is an absolute maniac on the defensive side of the ball. He's not there yet, but if he can take that step, if he can put it all together, if Vance Joseph can help him narrow down his jobs and be a B+, A- guy for 2 things instead of a B-, C+ guy for 5 things, Isaiah Simmons could be a Pro Bowler from now through the rest of his career. He has the tools to do it. Second most pressure. He is the biggest X factor on the Arizona Cardinals roster for 2022. The offense is stacked, okay? The defense is not. And if Isaiah Simmons can take that step forward, this defense could be a top 3rd defense and maybe not a bottom 3rd defense if he regresses or stays the same. Zaven Collins, 3rd. This is like okay, you're a first-round pick. Let's see what you got. He's big. He's strong. He's smart. He's going to be smack dab in the middle of the defense. Okay? It's his defense on paper. If he can take the step that Isaiah Simmons took from year 1 to year 2 and improve upon that a little bit more, because I think he's got more inside linebacker capability, even though he doesn't fit the mold of an inside linebacker. He's 2 or 3 inches taller. He's 30 pounds heavier than what a traditional inside linebacker plays. But if he can take a step forward like Isaiah Simmons did, and maybe just 30% more of another step in one fell swoop in 2022, the Cardinals defense could be a top 3rd defense. There's no safety net anymore. Jordan Hicks is gone. Chandler Jones is gone. Jordan Phillips, when he was on the field, is gone. This is a young, freakishly fast, freakishly talented defense, and there is zero safety net. They're running the high wire act with zero safety net underneath. 3rd most pressure spotlight. But if he can emerge, this defense could be top 3rd. It's going to be Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins. They're going to be grouped together in perpetuity as long as they both remain Arizona Cardinals. And hopefully they both do for the entirety of their career. Then Cam Thomas and Majai Sanders. 2 guys that are expected to make impacts right away. And it's not necessarily fair, but 3rd-round picks usually play their rookie year. It's not like they're like 6th-round picks. Like, okay, we have no depth here. Steve Keim says, go ahead. Go get him. Cam Thomas has made lists, Pro Football Focus to name one, of rookies to watch for 2022. He seems to be more ready as a plug-and-play guy than Majai Sanders is. I had Trevor Sikkema on from Pro Football Focus after the Cardinals drafted him, and he said, up and down, this wasn't like a sure thing home run. He was the pick the Cardinals made for the extra 3rd-round pick they got for the Hollywood Brown trade. If these two guys as one unit, let's say group them together, can have a C plus B minus performance in 2022, this defense could be top third instead of bottom third. But as I finish this segment and this podcast on Thursday, Locked On Cardinals, follow me on Twitter, Clancy's Corner. Look at how many young guys on defense need to make impacts for this defense to succeed. Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, the most underrated safety deal in football. Jalen Thompson may be top 10 most underrated players in the NFL, regardless of position. And that's not a homer take. That's just people don't know who he is, and they absolutely should. And the Cardinals absolutely need to pay him this offseason. Aside from him and J.J. Watt up front, Lecky Fulcher, Rashad Lawrence have been fine. Zach Allen, when he's healthy, makes waves. You know, you've got Devon Kennard and they've got guys, but nobody that's really, and Marcus Golden, obviously, there's nobody that's really going to take this defense by the Kajingas and say, you know what, my defense, not named Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. The front nine needs leadership. And I just named off 5 guys that could absolutely start to emerge as the leaders for the future of the Arizona Cardinals defense. And guess what? They need to come week 1 when Kansas City comes to town. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I'll talk to you tomorrow.